Welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Terran versus Protoss, a best-of-3 series, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Babylon. Now, spawning here in the top left-hand corner, playing with the red Terran SCVs, we have HeroMarine and his opponent with almost the same nickname from South Korea with the blue Protoss pieces. We're looking inside of the main of Hero. I mean, no HeroMarine, I guess, right? That'd be a little bit strange for a Protoss anyways. Hero Zealot? Probably not. No, it doesn't really have the same ring to it. I guess the Protoss players, don't tell the Zealot this, but I think Protoss players would be more than happy to trade the Zealot for the Marine. Yeah, I think a lot of players would be very happy to have the Marine as their tier 1 unit. Either way, this particular series was played at Gamers 8, and from what I understand, it's an absolute banger. Game number 2 between these two. Now, don't fast forward, but I heard that game number 2 between these two is a lot of fun. But I figured I may as well cast the entire best-of-3 series, because it's just a best-of-3, right? I mean, it's not going to be a super long one, I don't think. I mean, I haven't actually checked the game duration for any of these matches, but I think we should probably be okay, especially for a Terran versus Protoss. As long as Spirit isn't playing, the games probably don't go on for that long. Now, right from the get-go, this is a little bit interesting here. Hero has decided to not go for any sort of scouting here against Protoss, or, well, not against Protoss either, but against Terran in the earlier stages of this game. I guess he's checking for proxies in the back of his own natural? That would be a little bit wild, but he doesn't really know too much. This is something that Hero has been messing around with over the last few months. It's always a bit dangerous because you never really know exactly what Terran is going to be going for. And speaking of which, HeroMarine at this point has scouted by not seeing anything that his opponent didn't go for a scout, and therefore he decides to go straight into a reactor. So we have a little bit of a greedy Protoss going up against a little bit of a greedy Terran here as well, as HeroMarine is really not going to have any units out until like 2.5 minutes into this game. Obviously, if this would have been a Proxy Gateway or anything like that, he would have been in a lot of trouble. He doesn't know what he's playing against, but it turns out in this particular case, it is indeed the right call. Now, we do find ourselves on Babylon here in game number 1. It's going to be a chrono-boosted sentry first. Interesting. Okay, so the problem is, right? It's a Twilight Council on the back of this too. The problem is, the most popular build that we see most often, at least from Protoss players these days, is that Blink Stalker start. Be it the triple gateway or the quadruple gateway, it's a very popular build. On Babylon, however, you got this right over here to blink into. Now, it's technically doable for Stalkers to be on the low ground and then get into the main, but this main base just doesn't really lend itself very well to that Blink Stalker play that we see so very often. Oh, I'm back. I had to very quickly open the front door, but through the magic of video editing, you probably didn't notice anything. Anyhow, what exactly is this build from Hero going to be? My girlfriend apparently locked herself in. Very nice. Anyways, or locked herself out. In, I guess, is when you're stuck indoors. Yeah, anyways. We've got ourselves an hallucinated Phoenix. Now, this is weird here for HeroMarine, right? Because at this point, this is really the first thing he's seen from the Protoss player, and it's going to be a hallucinated Phoenix of all scoutable objects. It's going to be a Dark Templar opener. I see. Okay. So, if you're playing against something this strange, though... Okay, well, don't lose the sentry. If you're playing against something this strange, I think going for the Tech Lab here right away is an excellent choice for HeroMarine, yeah. Getting that Raven going just because you don't really know exactly what you're going up against. I mean, Dark Templar builds aren't super uncommon. Ravens are a fantastic choice, unless he's gonna go for a Banshee here. I don't think that would be ideal. There we go. Alright, straight into the Raven. Very good unit, of course, against Colossus play as well. Maybe not what he's putting his opponent on right now, as he actually decides to commit to a scan. Now, normally I would consider that to be a bit of a noob trap. I've seen a lot of people ask that over the years. He actually decides to cancel the Dark Stride as well. Okay, these guys are playing mind game after mind game. Generally, you don't really want to scan your Terran or your Protoss opponent. Well, not really your Terran opponent either, but you normally don't want to use a scan in the earlier stages of a game. Mostly because, even though it's just energy, right? It could have been a mule. And despite the fact that it's just energy and it doesn't technically have a mineral value, the scan is, of course, well, instead of a mule, and those mules, they do certainly harvest quite a bit. And because of that, it's a little bit tricky. Hero going for a follow-up right here. There's no charge or anything. I can imagine this is probably gonna be for High Templar with Storm. Can't really go for Archons here just yet. Well, he had a prism. This was originally meant for Dark Templar, but I guess he just loaded up whatever he can. Getting quite a few SCV kills already, not bad at all. Alright. 5 workers end up going down there for basically free. Yeah, he's not really lost anything other than canceling his own structure. That wasn't bad whatsoever. So there's the charge together with the storm. Okay. We'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what Hero decides to do moving forward. Okay, there is a siege tank right now available here. Prism. Okay, a little too far forward. At least the Stalker gets saved. I think he ended up killing, yeah, just 2 Marines right over there for 2 Adepts. Maybe not quite ideal, but it's gonna make the next move out here for HeroMarine a little bit, well, a little bit easier to hold. Okay, there's the infantry weapons, there's the combat shields, and there's the Stimpack. These upgrades, they're lining up roughly, right? Very roughly. The +1 weapons here is definitely going to finish up first, but it's going to give him a nice little moment where he reaches a significant power spike. So as soon as those upgrades are done, Terran army here is, yeah, those Marines in particular, they're going to be substantially more powerful. Now that he knows, though, that it's not going to be Dark Templar, he decides to go for the Raven towards the other side of the map. We do have 2 of them. Alright, so HeroMarine not really taking any chances. The real question is, though, how much damage can be done with the High Templar? Yeah, so there are 3 High Templar in total. I don't know if this has been spotted by our Terran player. I don't actually think so. No, maybe he's seen one of the Templar, so maybe he is going to be prepared. But this is not our super common build, right? Just like the Dark Templar opener, it's not something we see that often. Is he going to use it on the economy? No, he's not. That was a lovely storm. I mean, even just softening up a lot of those Marines is going to be massive. Keep in mind that he does have charge here, and I think just a bunch of charge slots are going to be a-okay against this particular Terran army. I mean, it's still 2 siege tanks. Just decide to morph in. Ooh, the Archon just barely in the nick of time. Okay, 1 more storm, and most of these Marines are going to be toast. Decides to drop off the Archon 1 more time. I'm not exactly sure as to why, but maybe he was afraid he wasn't going to be able to get the Prism out either. Anyways, we've got ourselves the Blink coming up right now on the back of this, and I actually quite like this position here for Hero, all things considered. I mean, Storm is going to be excellent against this particular attack, and it's not like Terran has the biggest economy on the back of this either. He now sees the timing of the 3rd CC as well, as Hero decides to go for the full-on counterattack. Now, of course, he can always recall, and I guess he's got Storm to buy a little bit of time. That was not the best of storms. HeroMarine almost walking back into it, though, but now he knows. Now the Terran player knows what he's playing against. Widowmines over here immediately burrow, fair enough. They're gonna at the very least take care of a couple of those zealots, but now the rest of his army has arrived. Terran a little bit indecisive, wants to go back home, goes for the Raven into the main base, loads up a couple of medevacs right now too. We do have the Guardian shield being utilized here as well, but yeah, Hero decides to get on out of there. He needs to be careful. Does he recall to the main? No, he recalls towards the natural. Terran's still wandering around the middle of the map as well, but this has actually been some excellent decision making here by HeroMarine. Little bit afraid maybe when he originally saw that army going through the center of the map, but he made the right call. A little bit indecisively, but he did make the right call. Now the additional reinforcements are gonna show up. Those medevacs are gonna be able to heal up those weakened Terran units from earlier as well, so I think he should be okay. And there are, of course, some nice positions to be, yeah, putting those siege tanks exactly. There's the Ghost Academy on the back of this. One of the reasons why we don't really see High Templar into Archon builds that often anymore is because of the fact that, well, Ghosts are pretty good, huh? There's another Storm, though. Lovely little Storm. Hero is going to pull the trigger right now because he knows that this is going to be very difficult to break after he loses a bunch of his structures. Immortals really should be target firing down those siege tanks here first and foremost. Battery overcharge in the main base, though. And I do think that Hero is going to be able to clean this up, but that was certainly not cheap. Some nice little pickup micro as well, though. Most of the Immortals at this point are gone. Cybercore took a lot of damage, but it's going to be a-okay. Alright. At this point, the 3rd Command Center is done, and the Ghost Academy is finished as well. That means, indeed, that we can start producing those Ghosts. And the Ghosts are incredibly nice against this particular Protoss army. Yeah, we have a pivot coming up here for Hero, who now decides to go into the Robotics Bay, but both the Templar as well as the Zealots, as well as the Archons, and basically everything that Protoss has is going to be very vulnerable here to the Ghost. The EMP ability is just so nice. Removing the shields, but also getting rid of the energy is absolutely massive, especially on the Templar. I mean, that's most of the damage output for Hero at this point, and of course the Archons are 10 health, but 350 shields. So EMP against these bad boys is absolutely lethal as well. Usually at this point in the game, the Archon just doesn't have a lot of value anymore, although we do have a nice Storm drop. Okay. Woo. 13 kills in total. Not bad at all. These Ravens have been getting some kills in as well, though. 11 probes here. Well, I guess it's only probes. On that Raven kill here on the right side. Couple Zealots here. Find a bit of an angle, but reinforcing Terran units are going to be able to get rid of that just fine. Okay. Now, this is a scary attack right here. If HeroMarine can shut down this Nexus here, I mean, we have the double Colossus transition coming up, but that's expensive and still a while away. If HeroMarine can shut down this base, he's going to be in an excellent spot. EMP, though, was used right over there on that Ghost, so no... Or, sorry, feedback, rather, was used on the Ghost right there, so no EMP. Although there is a second Ghost in the mix as well. Careful now. Yeah, there's a big EMP. That shuts down a lot of those shields. He decides to just push straight through it. And in the end, even though that was a little bit messy, there's still one Storm available. Okay, in the end, I do believe that this Nexus is going to fall. And that's painful. That is really painful right here for Hero, who really needs to be a base up on his opponent. I mean, now the Colossi are coming out. He decides to go for the Nexus here in the top right-hand corner right now, which makes a lot of sense. Having those Ravens still available as well, by the way, is super nice against this Colossus transition. That isn't why they were originally made. I think HeroMarine was mostly concerned against the Dark Templar, right? So he decided, you know what? Widowmine drop, by the way, dealing a bunch of damage here too. I think he was mostly concerned against the Dark Templar opener, but those Ravens, considering they're still around, especially if you repair them back up to full hit points, they're going to be excellent at shutting down those heavy hitters here from the Protoss. All right. Other than that, Storm drop, this game has been going well right here for HeroMarine. Brilliant strategic gameplay. Lovely work. Still needs to be very careful, though. You can see it right now reflected in the supply count, right? This Widowmine apparently was never cleaned up, so additional probes are indeed going to find their grave over here. If HeroMarine can now shut down this Nexus over here, I think that's basically going to be the end of it. Nice blink forward over here from Hero, though, trying his very best. A couple of random Storms in a lot of locations. I guess he just wants to get them over with before he ultimately gets his army EMP'd. Obviously, though, inside of the Prism, they are relatively safe, unless the Prism itself ends up going down. Okay, there are Disruptors now also available. Those are going to be nice, but some really good EMPs once again, dealing a lot of damage, okay? Big hits to the face, though. I mean, that fight was definitely not good right there for our Terran player. I mean, Hero definitely didn't have the units there, but he still managed to clean up most of that Terran army. Okay, not a lot of micro there coming out of Big Gape, but he's gonna be okay. 4th Command Center right now starts up. Gotta continue moving forward. Can we at least get rid of these Widowmines? That would be nice. Okay. Scan now reveals exactly where that Protoss army is located. So HeroMarine is going to be able to prepare once again. As a matter of fact, he comes in stimming. Down the ramp is always a little bit dangerous. One of the Colossi ends up going down. There's another Purification Nova. HeroMarine decided to run, but that never was going to happen. A little bit of a split would have been really nice to see. HeroMarine is a very good strategic player, but I don't think I would consider him to be the best micro player in the world. Sometimes, I mean, it happens to him a little bit more frequently than some of the other high-level Terrans. I'd be very hard-pressed to find a game to, to show you where, for example, a Bjorn or a Clem would be fighting in one angle or in one area at once and then still take big disruptor hits to the face. It doesn't really happen all too often, but HeroMarine is very strong when it comes to strategic gameplay, but also with his positioning, right? Like, against that base race-ish that we saw earlier, lovely work. Nexus right now ends up going down over here. Nexus in the top right-hand corner goes down too. This time around, he did dodge the Purification Nova. And despite the fact that these Stalkers are poking and prodding and getting a little bit of work done, this is looking like a HeroMarine victory. He's coming in right now for another attack, but he's picking off all of those expensive Protoss units. At this point, the Protoss economy is really nothing to write home about anymore. He's trying his best to get some lucky Novas, but this game can really only result in a Terran victory. Hero is gonna try, though. He still has a scary army. He's got an awful lot of units here, a lot of disruptors, and you never know what happens. If your opponent doesn't micro properly, there's always a chance to come back. Liberators now in the mix as well. Love seeing those here. Very, very nice unit to have available. Ooh, okay, you know what? There might be a chance. Okay, well, he's also pushing at the same time at the front, and he's already killed most of the Nexi that are available. If he can now also shut down the Forge upgrade, that would be huge. Just the Nexus itself, not bad. Here's another Nova. Quite a few Terran units keep on losing their life here, and this is actually supply-wise getting a lot closer than I believe it was supposed to be, but part of that, though, is also due to the fact that HeroMarine is now making the transition towards those Liberators, and I guess there are some Blink Stalkers available, but really not that many. Yeah, there's not really that great of an answer right here for our Protoss player to fight all of these Libs. Planetary Fortress here as well at the 12 o'clock position. I mean, he can kind of find an angle here, yeah. But he needs to be careful. Here comes the Bio Army stimming forward. Okay, we're gonna start splitting some of the Terran units up as well. Picking off those heavy hitters here from the Protoss player with relative ease. Drop in the top right-hand corner as well with some of the leftover Terran units from earlier. Jimmy here has got his gun ready to go. He's used Stimpack. He's ready to start harassing those probes for a little bit, well, a little bit longer. Only 45 probes remain. HeroMarine is making this game look a lot closer than it needed to be. But he's still in a fine position. Yeah, this is still definitely HeroMarine's game to lose. Hero, though, showing us that perseverance is important in a game of StarCraft 2. It's very easy to get down on yourself and think that it's about time you leave the game, sometimes a little bit too early. Turns out your opponent is, at least most of the time, also human, so they can make mistakes. But there's just simply so many units still available here for HeroMarine. Hero is running out of money here on the third. He doesn't have the natural, he doesn't have the main base anymore. Any unit right now that HeroMarine kills is going to be really good for him. These Archons, okay, pretty pricey. Disruptors end up getting sniped as well. Liberator here harassing half of the income here of Hero. Still though, one Purification Nova away from a comeback. Or at least an evening up of the supply count. Okay, another Colossus is coming up right now. Fair enough. The Ravens at this point have disappeared, and I don't really mind that idea at all. Just back to Stalkers and Zealots and Colossi. Not a bad idea. Okay, Terran here coming in from the side. One Hero SCV, apparently. Maybe that's his new nickname. Joining in the fray as well. We do have some Ghost here. EMPs would be nice to see. Obviously, that's also the reason, by the way, why we do have that Robo Bay transition. HeroMarine right now, though, finding a lovely arc over here, getting that concave advantage. Trying his very best to get the jump right over here on this Protoss army. And most of the disruptors, all of the disruptors, at this point have gone down. I've got a feeling, though, that at this point there is enough Terran to start plowing through the remainder of this Protoss army. It's very close still, but it is indeed HeroMarine who obtains the victory in game number 1. Alright, game number 2, we find ourselves on Royal Blood. This time around, we go from not a single worker scout to Hero sending out 2 probes out onto the map already. One of them is scouting the Terran here to make sure that everything is a-okay. He scouts that it's a double refinery opener. The other probe, though, is right here on the right side of the map. It is gonna put down a proxy pylon already. Now, this is a little bit too early for like a proxy Stargate or a proxy Robo or anything along those lines. So this has to be a proxy gate, right? Yep. All right, gateway into Cybercore. Not something we see all too often against Terran, but of course very popular against Protoss. And it allows you to just simply get a lot of units out. I mean, very popular against Protoss, normally right over here, right on the high ground. I mean, it's a little bit of a different build, of course, but... Double gateways here, early on. Ooh, okay. Well, that is sloppy. Losing the scouting worker here is not what you want to have happen. That is a mental advantage, if anything, right here for HeroMarine, who's playing a very safe early game. Problem is, though, he doesn't really know what he's playing against. Really, Hero? Is that what we're doing? This probe is very deliberately moving on over in that direction. I mean, the second gate is finishing up right now. Okay, no. Maybe in a little bit, but not just yet. We're gonna go for a Zealot into double Adept right now. What are we gonna make out of this gateway on the back of this? Another Adept. Okay, so we are ready to rush some units towards the other side. Now at this point, HeroMarine doesn't know exactly what he's playing against. This is not the moment to go for a command center on the low ground. Don't do it! Don't do it, HeroMarine! I don't like it! Okay, he starts it up as the second Adept comes in. He didn't really know exactly though what he was playing against. Alright, loses 100 minerals there. Not quite ideal. You could quite literally see him think, like, should I be doing it or should I not? Anyways, Nexus here is coming up. HeroMarine now scouts that this shenanigans here is happening. Does he also see the Nexus though? Because that would be a really lovely scout for him. Command center restarts in the main base, but Hero is already thinking about the next step in his master plan. Rather than just going into a Proxy Gateway, we're gonna go Proxy Gateway into a gold base Nexus. This does mean, though, that it needs to be aggressive for the foreseeable future. Right? Because as soon as this Terran player goes out onto the map, this game becomes a little bit trickier. I would love to see HeroMarine continuing the scouting there, because he does have a unit out, and he does have the potential to see what his opponent's next plan is. Anyways, for now, it's just going to be Hero who's ready to continue this harassment for a little bit longer. He really doesn't want to deal a whole lot. Well, he wants to deal damage with this, but he's not really aiming or necessarily wishing to deal a lot of damage with it. Any damage here is nice, but the real follow-up is going to be those golden minerals. Are we going to be recalling some probes? Indeed we are. They're going to be moving themselves from the main base down towards the gold, right underneath the nose right here of the Terran player, who really could have been scouting this all along. The low HP unit wants to get sacrificed, does get the Widow Mine though, so in the end it's a Widow Mine for a low HP Adept. Good micro here, of course, by both players. HeroMarine really trying his best to prevent these units from getting into the base. Now with the Stalkers showing up and those Adept Shades providing high ground vision though, it does get a little bit tricky. One more of the Adepts ends up going down, and alright, there's the last one. So now all of a sudden those the Stalkers have to start face tanking in order to get the high ground vision. Did the SCV... Okay, the SCV out on the map did get sniped. And I'm assuming here that HeroMarine, yeah, he did not see the Nexus. That sucks. It would have been really nice for him to see that at this point in the time, but he doesn't know. Alright, Blink is coming up on the back of this. So this all looks like a very normal Hero-esque game, right? Like, he likes playing that aggressive style, he likes being in the opponent's face a lot, and that's exactly what he's getting done in this particular match as well. Raven on the back of this, because HeroMarine doesn't know exactly what he's playing against, so once again, crossing his T's, dotting his I's, not really taking a whole lot of chances, and, well, I mean, even though he wasn't going up against DTs in the previous game, those Ravens still got a tremendous amount of value, as Hero is now gonna go for another Nexus on the other side of the map? Okay. There it is. Turns out the entire map is his main base. So, Gateway into Proxy Gateway into double Proxy Gold. Cheeky gameplay right here from Mr. Hero. Very cool. Alright. HeroMarine is gonna scout at least one of them here eventually, I would imagine, right? I mean, yeah, one of the units here, one of the structures, is gonna be rallied towards the top left-hand corner. So I've got a feeling that this Banshee here, this follow-up after the Raven, is gonna indeed scout one of the golden bases. But still a cool attempt, and this can actually sort of bait HeroMarine into a false sense of security. Because if he sees this Nexus right now over here, he may be thinking, ha! I know what my opponent was up to, and I have pushed it back. Ha ha ha! Fantastic position for me right now. But it turns out his opponent already has another Nexus in the bottom right-hand corner. Can we have a look right here? Alright, at the income, you can see that Hero definitely has had a nice little advantage there. So much movement already, by the way, on the map. Yeah, HeroMarine tucked away in his corner, cowering in fear. Hero taking everything like an absolute Giga Chat. Now, I think HeroMarine is gonna scout it right now, though, and that is really lovely. Okay, he sees what he's playing against, and he now knows this is indeed my opponent. Being a very cheeky Protoss. Not a lot of kills here on these probes, but at the very least, he finds out what he's playing against, and that means he can start thinking about his next plan in this game. Obviously, the ball right now is in HeroMarine's court. He really can't be sitting back and just allowing his opponent double golden minerals, so we'll have to see exactly where he decides to go. Now, once again, Stimpak, combat shields, +1 infantry weapons. All of those upgrades are indeed, well, one of them is already done, but indeed they are once again coming up. And it's nice to finish them, because once you have them finished, it is much easier to go for any sort of aggression. I think it's safe to assume that Hero is going to be the defensive player here for the foreseeable future. Although, if he can get aggressive, I think he would really like to be on the other side of the map. Because one advantage of being in your opponent's face all the time is that you can also keep track of how many units they have. Speaking of which, though, HeroMarine's army at this point is absolutely massive. Yep. Combat shields is done. Stimpak is done. +1 infantry weapons, not quite yet, but these Marines are already a very, very nice unit to have against this Stalker Ball. Hero, though, is definitely, he's definitely going to try and keep this base alive for a while longer. He can always recall those probes towards the other side of the map as well if he wants to. You can see those Marines, they're not really messing around. Gonna try and go for an Immortal. Obviously, battery overcharge is going to be really sweet. Yeah, there it is activated. Does he have enough, Hero that is right now, to keep all of this going? Raven over here, yeah, would have been nice to get down here at the golden minerals instead. Slowly, though, this Protoss army is growing. Yeah, that superior income is super nice. He decides to blink towards the left, gets the siege tank eventually, but that was at the cost of a lot of Stalkers. At this point, most of the Medivacs, if not all of the Medivacs, are out of energy. So I think he actually manages to hold on. I mean, there are some reinforcements coming in. 7 more Stalkers are coming, but that was very close. But yeah, Hero just simply getting more income. Ooh, getting the Raven right now would be real nice. Getting more income here is super good for him, because eventually he just ended up with more supply. Okay. I mean, more army supply, that is. At this point, it's still a little bit risky here. HeroMarine decides to go for a Widowmine drop towards the top left-hand corner. But we are getting to the point where the Protoss is starting to outgrow the Terran quite rapidly. Despite the fact that the worker count here is in favor of Terran, he just doesn't have that much income. I mean, there is a 3rd command center coming up right now, but it's relatively late. Only about a quarter of the way done. Maybe this Widowmine drop, though, can even the odds. Okay, the probes are pulled away right now. Good move. Good move right there by Hero. Ooh, that was still very risky. This did, however, distract the Protoss player from the right side of the map, which is very far away. Another battery overcharge being used, but this is a very scary Terran force. Recall, though, coming up on most of those Stalkers, so they're going to be able to help out over here as well. The Archon popping that force field, apparently, but again, HeroMarine does not shut down the base that he was hoping for. Those other Stalkers have made their way as well across. Still a good supply count here for HeroMarine. But things are a little bit scary. This is, for all intents and purposes, a 2-base all-in, and he hasn't really gotten the value out of it just yet. There's another Nexus coming up, by the way, in a natural expansion of Protoss. You can always evacuate those probes on the way there, although, of course, recall is going to be on cooldown for quite a while. Or as Terran players call it, recall. Very frustrating. Very annoying to play against. Another Widowmine drop is going to be attempted here. HeroMarine hoping that in the midst of a very chaotic game, his opponent is not going to be paying attention. And the question is he? Okay, he is. Yep. But now we're mostly fishing for a lucky strike, right? We're hoping that we're going to bowl a hit here. And that is nice and all, but not a very reliable approach. Rather than just a little bit of early game banter, right? A little bit of early game shenanigans where you're like, hey, I'm going to throw a Widowmine drop at you. This is becoming very serious. Okay, he also catches a lot of this Terran army here. I mean, the Widowmines right now, yeah, I mean, they shoot at the Zealots, but they also shoot at all of those SCVs. Hero manages to break open the natural expansion and now also the main base of the Terran player. Sure, the Nexus here on the right side of the map got sacrificed, but those probes, they will find other minerals to mine soon enough. Still though, loads of probes have already gone down. This Liberator here got 15 kills. I actually saw the little red dot on the minimap, but I didn't really know exactly what it was. I figured it wasn't anything important, but 15 kills right there on that one Liberator is fantastic. Now we have a Desperation drop, though, into the main base. I don't think this game is quite as desperate as HeroMarine is making it out to be. He decides to get into his own main base, doesn't really want to get stuck on the ramp. That was a very costly exchange. Only 13 SCVs remain, but HeroMarine does still have a very scary amount of army. Okay, now we can start going down to the low ground, right? What can't really be done as easily on Babylon can be done on Royal Blood. Command center itself is going to get targeted here by the Stalkers. And Hero indeed gets another point. Lovely work. Another point in this game, that is, okay? I've got a feeling he's going to get a point as well in this series. I mean, nice little bit of pickup micro as well with the Prism. Whenever you get your Archons on top of that Bio Ball, that is exactly where you want them to be. Hero indeed gets a point in the game, but also a point in this series. Alrighty, and that takes us to the map Aggressiven, which is going to be game number 3 in this best of 3 series. I've decided to fast forward through the first 2 or so minutes of the game, just because nothing too exciting happened here, and I think we all know what the early game of TVP looks like. It's going to be a double Reaper start here for HeroMarine, who once again did not go for a scouting SCV, but at the very least, he's going to be okay against basically whatever it is that the Protoss player decides to throw at him. Turns out, though, Hero also playing a very defensive approach. He decides to go into the Stargate build this time around. Okay. Nothing all too crazy, of course, despite the fact that he definitely is a blink boy in my mind. I mean, you can kind of group the Protoss players in 2 categories, right? Either they're Stargate men or they're blink boys. I think Hero is normally a blinky boy, but this time around he's going to be a Stargate man. And honestly, doesn't surprise me all too much. Keep on trying to confuse the opponent, right? It's the beauty of Protoss versus Terran. A lot of variety. A lot of guessing for the opponent too. You don't really want them to become complacent and become comfortable. Well, maybe you do want them to be complacent, but you don't want them to be comfortable. Alrighty, it's gonna be a, okay, Oracle into Phoenix, right? Now at the very least the Oracle opener gets spotted, so that's nice. I mean, less so for those two Reapers from earlier, but at the very least HeroMarine now gets a bit of time to prepare. Bunker coming up on the low ground. Ooh, alright. So he's actually not really respecting this Oracle whatsoever. It does still have a little bit of energy remaining though. He decides to load up all of his units into a medevac and he's gonna send it straight towards the other side. Okay, yeah, Hero here, taking the bait, not really wishing to go deep into the base here. I mean, there's no Widow Mine hidden or anything along those lines. He could have done a bit of damage, but he decided to give his opponent the benefit of the doubt. A little bit of a coin flip right there for HeroMarine, but it turns out it pays off because now he's in the main base of the Protoss player, and how many workers can he get? So far, just a single one. Second probe goes down. There are still a couple of units available, though, but obviously this is still a nice little advantage here for HeroMarine, because that's a lot of probes that aren't mining here for like 10 seconds, and every single second that a worker isn't mining in StarCraft 2, you lose about, 0.8 minerals or so. So even though that doesn't seem too significant, if we look right here at the income advantage, yeah, you can see that at least for a couple seconds there, it goes in favor of the Terran, and those little moves certainly do add up. Robo Bay. It's going to be a delayed right now. It's going to be a delayed Robo Bay, and that is not what Protoss is hoping for. We do get a couple of lifts though. Okay, Phoenixes end up sniping one of them. Second one also is going to end up going down. Not bad. HeroMarine was ready to go for a push once again. Let me actually flip the scoreboard right there to make it hopefully a little bit less confusing with the top player spawning in the top section of the map, in the top section of the scoreboard, as well as the production tab right over there. One of my personal caster pet peeves, and turns out I made my mistake. Anyways, this is one of the things I get bothered by whenever I watch other people cast. Whenever their scoreboard is flipped in the wrong direction, it's like, oh my god, you can't do, and then I do it myself. Embarrassing. Anyways, Robo Bay is done. We're gonna go into the robotics units right now, and Colossus is apparently gonna be unit 1. Super nice, of course. Disruptors, always an option as well on the back of this. Extended thermal lens, though, is coming up, so I've got a feeling here with this Phoenix mating dance, and indeed, more and more Colossi are gonna be coming up for the next few minutes. Combat shields. Tech lab, researching the Stimpack upgrade, as well as the +1 infantry weapons. Not really something HeroMarine is going to make use of. Okay, not yet anyways, but he's going to get nice value here as the game progresses. But it does mean that we are at a bit of a lull in this game, right? Neither player really wants to commit all too much. I mean, maybe we're going to see the Phoenixes go across, but I think he wants to use those for base protection for now. And same for the Oracle. The Oracle will probably be hanging around this side of the map too. Give the heads up that units are coming in, or, well, that was originally its intent, but I guess that this probe is going to be tasked with a very similar assignment. Question is, when are we gonna add on a third command center? Question is, are we planning on adding on a third command center? Okay, now we're just gonna produce as many units as we can possibly afford right now. HeroMarine wants to go for an all-out assault, and that is what Hero is scouting out for as well. This is a risky move, though. Hero at this point sees a tremendous army moving across. The thing is, extended thermal lance is already finishing up right around the same time as combat shields, which is nice here for the Protoss player for sure. Still though, this is one of those attacks that can hit like an absolute sledgehammer. He's positioning himself as if he's got a third command center ready to go, but he doesn't. So yeah, Hero scouts this right now as well. He sees, hey, that is why you sieged up over there. I mean, obviously, HeroMarine doesn't really know exactly what the Protoss player is up to, but he was ready for a fight, and he's gonna try and find it on the other side of the map. Hero decides to try and meet his opponent head on, slow down his attack in whatever way possible. Of course, though, he can always fall back to the high ground, and I think that's what he should do. Just try and buy some time, roast a couple Marines. Yeah, maybe hurt those siege tanks just a tad, but definitely don't take the fight out here. Take them closer to the safety of the shield battery. Every second that goes by right now, Hero gets more and more ahead. His income here is really, really nice. If he can get charged, that would be massive. I don't think that's really going to happen, though. Okay, Colossus does take a little bit of damage, but luckily here there's a shield battery ready to repair some of that damage back up. Okay, HeroMarine is getting closer where he wants to be. But this is not a comfortable situation here for Protoss. Or, sorry, for Terran. It's pretty comfortable, I guess, for Protoss. Not too comfortable either, though, but now that charge is finishing up, got a feeling he's gonna feel a whole lot better. There's the battery overcharge. Is he gonna jump this? I mean, he needs to make the decision, and I guess with charge finishing up, this is the moment where he wants to shine. Still a very scary Terran army, but the siege tanks are starting to disappear. An hallucinated Colossus also joins in, but a lot of Terran reinforcements have shown up. There's just a line of Terran right now moving on that mini-map. Interesting disengage right there from Hero, by the way. That was a little bit risky. Battery overcharge is going to be available in again in about 30 seconds or so from now. Siege tanks, though, are still plowing through those stalkers. Vikings trying their best. There's not really that many of them available anymore to try and kill the Colossi. Another one did indeed end up going down. And now suddenly, HeroMarine is closing the distance here to this third nexus. The siege tanks, okay, one of them ended up going down, another one will fall, and it looks like the Zealots are going to be able to finish the job. Colossus having a grand old time here before ultimately dying. Nice pickup micro right there by HeroMarine, but 22 probes have gone down in the middle of this engagement too. Third nexus, though, holds, and that's critical. Still, no third command center to be seen anywhere. Obviously, HeroMarine can just reposition those structures if he wants to, but he doesn't have that stellar of an economy. Vikings, okay, are in a little bit of trouble. Zealots here just picking off whatever reinforcement they can, and this is huge. He can't really afford that much. Those Phoenixes are still available too, or at least one of them. Yeah, that's super nice, just to keep pushing back these medevac drops. Now another siege tank gets found in the middle of the map. A small clump of Terran is gonna run away until that charge is once again coming off cooldown. Alright, maybe it is about time we change the nickname to Hero Zealot. Because in those fights, they're definitely not a bad unit. Okay, well, that was very, very messy. But in the end, Hero does hold on to the base. He did manage to hold on to that very scary Terran army. It is about time, though, that we see this orbital command flying down towards the low ground, but whereas this Protoss army is really only getting better over time, Terran is not really improving as much. That does mean, though, that HeroMarine here is spending most of his money, most of his resources on just getting more of the same unit out, right? So he is just getting a tremendously scary force. His first all-in wave didn't really work out that well. I mean, the intention was to win the game, but he traded well enough to be able to go for a second wave. So the all-in is going to continue here shortly. He's making as many units as possible. I think he's ready to make himself up for another attack wave here very soon. It's important here that Hero does not get carried away and he thinks about making a fourth nexus or anything like that. All that Hero really needs to do is just make a non-stop army here. Okay. He, by the way, added on our Phoenix group again. That's really nice, actually. I really like the Phoenixes. I think they're an excellent choice. That's a medevac full of units going down. There is a push, though, over on the left side of the map. This Marine ball is trying its very best to kill that Nexus, but Yeah, they ended up dealing a bunch of damage, but they didn't actually finish off the structure itself. There's the old main base of HeroMarine repositioning down towards the low ground so those mules can continue mining for a bit longer. Phoenixes, though, once again, ready to intercept this. Another pylon falls, but the medevac is nowhere to be seen anymore on the right side of the map. Hero right now, yeah, getting a really nice supply lead. He doesn't really want to take any chances. This was an important match at Gamers 8, so obviously winning here is the name of the game. But sometimes on the ladder you can get a little bit over-eager. Okay, apparently we had a nice hit over here as well. I think Hero doesn't really want to take any chances in this particular situation. Still scary though. I mean, that's Liberators and Siege Tanks you're pushing into. Yeah. There is no Prism out. Okay, he's still gonna just commit. He's still just gonna commit. Liberators decide to reposition themselves. The Phoenixes lift up those Siege Tanks to try and take them out of the equation. Despite the fact that this is a scary Terran army, Protoss is starting to break through. He needs to be careful though. Those Colossi need to be able to shoot at their maximum range. There's a medevac full of units heading towards the natural expansion of the Protoss player. Terran though at this point basically no income anymore. Big Purification Nova. Actually decently sized Purification Nova. That's what she said. I know, sorry. Sucks, but it is what it is. Okay, apparently the probes with battery overcharge are gonna be okay against at least some of this army. HeroMarine is not getting a lot of mining in here. And that means his army is not gonna continue growing. Quite a few of those Marines are cut off as well from the pack. The command center itself is in a lot of trouble, but Hero is not gonna target it down. He was sweating blood in the water, went after the Liberators, and just like that, it's Hero who obtains the victory 2-1 over HeroMarine.